So, Michael Tomowski, in your latest article for the New Republic, which is titled "The Real Reason Why Americans Approve of Trump's Disastrous Transition," you write in part this: "How can it be, you may be wondering, that 55% of Americans tell pollsters they approve of how Donald Trump is handling the transition? He has nominated almost, but not quite, literally across the board, unqualified extremists. I don't blame people, you say. I blame the larger culture, which has been almost totally drained of common concern about our civic health. First and foremost, I blame Rupert Murdoch and, to a lesser extent, his imitators, whose media properties have injected so much poison and so many lies into our discourse since 1977 that common civic agreement about basic morality in public life has become impossible." You go on. "We had a basic understanding about what kinds of actions did and did not reflect our best values. And this was why Richard Nixon had to resign in disgrace for committing far fewer offenses than Trump already has. Everyone, whatever their politics, agreed that Nixon had clearly crossed a line. But that impulse is dead in the United States, and the right-wing media killed it." It's, Michael, a powerful piece. Tell us more about your argument about the right-wing media, what it's done, and do you see any way that this civic bond, this civic concern, can be repaired?
I'm not very hopeful about that, Jonathan, unfortunately. You know, John Dean famously said a few years ago that if Fox News had existed in 1973-74, Richard Nixon would have survived Watergate. I think that's probably true. Today, the right-wing media extends far beyond Fox News. I mentioned Murdoch in that piece, but there's Sinclair Media, there's many outlets that follow essentially the same kind of script. I do think that we have lost those bonds I'm talking about. I think that, you know, in an earlier time, without that media pressure, right-wing media pressure, I think Republican senators and House members during Donald Trump's first term would have said, this is a bridge too far. He's gone too far. This crosses a line. We can't tolerate this. But those just aren't the rules anymore. With respect to the transition, very quickly, you know, I watched these polls. 55% approve of the transition, 59% I saw in one poll, although that was a few weeks ago. I don't really think, I just can't believe that 55% of Americans think that Robert F. Kennedy is the best choice for HHS. I don't think 55% of Americans think Tulsi Gabbard is the best choice for intelligence or Pete Hegseth is the best choice for the Pentagon. What I think is happening, though, is that people are just kind of checked out. They don't know, they're not paying attention, and some portion of the media, the right-wing media, is telling them that these are very well-qualified people and that they should be confirmed. It's a sad situation that we're in, and I don't see an easy way out.
You know, I think Jim makes an important point here. And Eugene, I'm wondering what you think, because the reality is I do think that some of it is people are not fully informed, right? Folks are like, oh, people voted for what Donald Trump is going to do. They wanted this. I'm not sure that they were fully informed about all the things, but one could argue a lot of people knew enough. Because of our fractured media environment, they weren't fully informed, I think. Depending on where you get your news, you could actually believe that the Speaker of the House is supposed to go to every single member of their caucus and say, hey, what do you want to put in the bill? Not knowing that that's not actually how negotiations work. You elect a leader to negotiate on your behalf, and the leader should have the respect and the backing of their caucus. That's how this usually works. And so, given though this is our situation, Eugene, what are we going to do? Because I asked my folks on social media questions last night on my Instagram when I should have been asleep, and people are like, how are we going to survive the crazy of the next 4 years? And Donald Trump isn't even elected yet. This is utter chaos for no reason except that Elon Musk, and I can't help but think also maybe the president-elect, didn't actually understand how the continuing resolution was supposed to go and what was actually in the bill.
Yeah, well, just a couple of quick points, Simone. First of all, on those polls, 55%, 59% saying they support the transition. Frankly, I'm not surprised. I mean, Donald Trump won the popular vote in not quite, just a scotch less than 50%, but he won the popular vote. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that 55 or even 59% of Americans, many of whom voted for Donald Trump and others of whom are not really that firmly attached to either party, it doesn't surprise me that that many people would want to be optimistic about the new administration. That's called the honeymoon, right? And so that's they're hardly going to, I think, take a hard look at some of the chaos and the dysfunction, at least until Trump takes office and the administration begins to shape up. So that's one point. And the other point is that a lot of people have just checked out after a couple of years of really intense politics and political news and being invested and in one candidacy or the other and headlines every day. I think a lot of people are just checked out for a little bit. And you know, that's kind of okay. It's the holidays. Let's get through the holidays. People will check back in. I don't worry about that because stuff will happen and people will have feelings about it. And then we'll say, but what's happening right now is not a huge concern to me.
Yeah, perhaps when the inauguration rolls around, that's when the people do check back in. Editor of The New Republic, Michael Tomasky, and CEO of Axios, Jim VandeHei, both important columns online. We're reading them. Thanks to you both for being with us this morning. And, of course, Symone Sanders Townsend, thank you as well. We will be watching The Weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, starting at 8 a.m. right here on MSNBC.